Dorian Yates did not do only one set to failure. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. You know, this is one of those things to where so much myth and legend and things have been repeated because these stories get told coming back from the Menzer era, then the Dorian Yates era, and even stuff that Dorian says, you know, in later interviews, and people forget all this stuff was documented 25 years ago, 20 years ago, okay? So this stuff was all in the magazines and the interviews and everything way back when I was younger. Like, look, I was a Dorian Yates fan. I mean, seeing him actually, even on ESPN, and seeing the stuff there kind of inspired me later on to even get into lifting. Was one of the things that inspired me because he just looked crazy jacked when I was a young man, right? Because again, I'm about to be 48 years old. So what people forget is when Dorian says one set, he's only talking about sets to failure or beyond. He's only counting that. He counted everything else as warm-ups. And this is why this stuff gets ridiculous, because keeping in mind what Dorian calls a warm-up, most people would consider to be an all-out, balls to the walls, crazy, insane set. Okay? So that's the problem. Right? Dorian Yates's quote-unquote warm-up sets were more intense than most pro bodybuilders' actual work sets were. So we need a context for that. This stuff got filmed. It got discussed. People saw him train. Okay? Everyone knew what he did. It's not like it was a big secret where people didn't see what was going on. So let me be clear. What I remember was the barbell rows, right? So here's how he would start a day off. Like Dorian would do like 4 exercises, right? He would do 3 to 4 exercises, usually 4 exercises for a muscle group in a week, right? So everyone's like, oh yes, that's 3 or 4 sets. Well, he would call it sets, but take his barbell rows. He was famous for those crazy heavy barbell rows that he did with strict form. Remember those Yates rows with the underhand grip and the straps? You guys remember the pictures or videos of how much weight he had on the bar? Keeping in mind, if he didn't reach failure, he counted it as a warm-up set. Keeping in mind also, all the data we have shows that being 4 or 5 reps from failure will still produce muscle growth. Okay, there's your context. All right, so he would say my 10 rep max was about 405, right? 4 plates per side on a barbell row. And he did them fairly strict. All right, let that sink in. So what was his warm-up sets? Well, if it was his 10 rep max, he could get 10 reps before he had to cheat or rest pause. He would do 3 sets of 8 with 405. Okay, now step back for a moment. I'll let that sink in for everyone who's thinking Dorian did low volume. Okay, stop and think about that. It's his 10 rep max. He could do 10 reps of 405, so he would do 3 sets of 8 to warm up. Then he would go for the all-out set. Now, what would his all-out set look like? He would get 10 reps, reach muscle failure, and then do drop sets or rest pause. So he would stand there and try to do 3 or 4 or 5 seconds between reps, and then try to do another rep, taking it beyond failure. Or strip weight off and then continue the set. Starts like strip a full plate off and keep going. And then reach failure with that. All right? These intensity techniques. That is what he means by one set. Does anyone out there understand how insane a set of 8 is with 405 on a strict barbell row? Okay. Does anyone understand that he would have gotten bigger had he just done the 3 sets of 8 and stopped also? I'm not saying he would have been as big as he was. He would have grown from that. All right. He would then proceed to do the next exercise in the same fashion, whether it was a lat pull down or he really apparently liked like the pullover machine, right? He loved that thing apparently. Or you go to a dumbbell row. Okay? Then he'd do this for like 4 exercises for his back. He'd even do like some deadlifts, like as a finisher sometimes. He'd do the same thing, do like drop sets on a deadlift the same way. All right, take big heavy weights. A lot of times he did them on a Smith machine though. Okay. If I recall that, he was big on that, like the deadlift and the Smith machine after the rows and stuff. All right, same thing though. He would do like a drop set on the Smith machine with like, whatever his heavy weight was, 500 or 600 pounds or whatever for 8 reps. And do 8s and then go to like the 10 and then do a drop set. Strip weights off and strip all the way down. And count that as 1 set. All right, those are what Dorian means by 1 sets. We're talking 15, 16 work sets per muscle group with 3 to 4 sets that are all out crazy balls to the wall like that. The rest of them were still work sets by everyone else's standards. That's not low volume training, guys. That's 15, 16 sets of muscle group. Okay? There's your context. Dorian didn't train low volume. He trained crazy intensity. But his volumes were not low. They were really closer to what a lot of bodybuilders still do to this day, is moderately high volume. Okay? Understand that. So when people have these discussions, this is what they need to understand. It was not Minzer's pure system. He got a lot of that from Minzer with that stuff, and that's why he called them warm-up sets. Because he talked to Minzer, he liked Minzer, they knew each other quite well. He was his greatest protege. But again, Dorian didn't just come in and do a set to failure. His warm-up sets were insane. They were big, heavy weights for a lot of reps. So don't let people tell you that, but see, he still insists that was 1 set because in his mind, it was. Because that was the mindset Minzer gave him, that if you didn't reach failure, it doesn't count. So even if it was a set that is for a normal mortal, we're like, dude, there ain't no way. There's no way somebody's doing that. No, that's just a warm-up because he had a rep or 2 left. He could have done a little more, so it's just a warm-up. Also keep in mind, people say, but that seems crazy. Yeah, but being a champion requires you to be crazy. You think you win the Mr. Olympia by being sane? Normal people don't do that. So yes, it was extreme. It was extreme. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.